So this morning, Tim shared this graphic with you, and this is one that you've seen several times already. And so we know what high-quality Tier 1 instruction looks like, and we know that the data, particularly the reports we've talked about, the visuals from K-12 Lift, that's a really great diagnosis. It can help us diagnose celebrations and concerns. And if we stop there, then we don't know what to do about it, right? And so we have tried really hard throughout all of Rural Connect, but particularly in our teacher sessions of Rural Connect, to really give them the medicine to really help them plan their high-quality Tier 1 instruction in terms of both rigor and alignment, right? And also student engagement. So we're looking at both of those pieces. And so we want to give you a tiny glimpse, not the full experience, but a tiny glimpse into what your teachers can experience and will experience in the upcoming Rural Connect 3 session. So this book, Moonshot, is on the book list, the ELA book list, and it actually appeared on the FAST assessment in the spring 2024 on the actual test students took. Excerpts from it were used and questions were formed from it. So we are giving our 3rd through 5th grade teachers a copy of this book, and we're going to do some significant sentence work with it. So in your green folder, you will find a significant sentence that looks like this. If you would pull that out, please. Significant sentence is one of those routines that it was kind of slow to get off the ground, and then this year we're just seeing it explode into classrooms, and that has been really rewarding because it's a really powerful routine. So take a minute and read the significant sentence from Moonshot with your partner. You can read it aloud or read it on your own. Let you read it for a minute. Now I'm going to ask that you read it again with your partner, and this time you look for words that start with the same initial sound, and that you circle just those letters at the beginning of the words that make that initial sound the same. So read it again, look for repeating initial sounds, and circle those sounds, please. All right, do any of my amazing 4th graders remember what it's called when words start with the same sound? What do we call it when words start with the same sound? Alliteration. So you've just found some examples of alliteration in these sentences. Great job. All right, next, I would like for you to look in line 3 and find the word they and circle it. T-H-E-Y, circle the word they, and draw an arrow from the word they to the noun or nouns that it refers to.
What did you choose? And small spaceships. Small spaceships. Yeah.
What does that they represent? They is a pronoun. It's talking about something. What's it talking about? Stephanie?
Spaceships.
The spaceships. Or maybe you drew an arrow to Columbia and Eagle, the name of the spaceships, right? Okay. Now in line 6 and in line 7, find the word it and circle it in both places. And do the same thing. Draw an arrow to the thing that is it.
Rocket, that will lift them. A monster machine, it stands. Yeah, I think it's rocket. Yeah, I think machine and rocket are the same as it and it. The tower for just one better. They're all over. But these both do. Yeah, right.
All right, does the it in line 6 and 7, does it refer to the same thing that they refer to?
No.
No, that's interesting, isn't it? Okay, here we go. Underline all words that have anything to do with size or quantity. All right. A metaphor is when you refer to something as something else in order to compare those two things. See if you can find at least one metaphor and put a box around it. All right, now we're going to think about text structure. If you were real students in my 4th grade class, we would have a nice anchor chart of all the text structures we've been working through. So I'm going to call some out in case you're not familiar with the text structures that elementary school students might know. So I want you to think about the text structure of this group of sentences you've been reading and working with. Is it chronology, comparison, cause and effect, problem solution, sequence, or description? Hear the audible description in the room. Draw a star next to 3 lines that support your answer. I heard an overwhelming description whisper. You have to justify it. Now I want you to think about what is the central idea of your significant sentences. And I'm going to give you a hint because we've been learning about central idea in my 4th grade class. And I tell you over and over that a central idea starts with the topic, what this piece is mostly about, and the rest of the central idea is what the author intends to say about the topic. So we have the topic plus whatever it is that the author intends to say about the topic. That makes up your central idea. So see if you can write a central idea statement. Make sure you start with the topic of your sentences.
And the author's purpose is to describe too big to believe.
See if you can limit yourself to 10 words or less. I want to make sure we're capturing the central idea, not all the details.
The Columbia and the Eagle are 2 spaceships.
Can I hear a central idea? Who has one ready to share?
The Columbia and Eagle are 2 massive spaceships built to fly
That is true.
to Saturn. 5.
What's our whole passage about? The rocket. What's the rocket called? Saturn V. The whole significant sentences, all of our significant sentences are about the Saturn V. And what is the author trying to tell us about Saturn V? And it flies. And as Wyatt said, it carries those other spaceships with it, right? So we're trying to learn about the Saturn V, how it's a big rocket and it was built to fly. That can be our central idea. Now I want you to look at your significant sentences. See if there are 2 to 4 lines that maybe aren't developing that central idea that you would strike through. Just draw a line through them. If they're not helping to develop that central idea, eliminate them.
First 4 sentences. The first 4 lines.
Yeah.
Or 5 into.
Well, you kind of need to know
You need the rocket, yes.
rocket.
But you don't really need to know
Oh,
that
that's
2
true.
spaceships are on it. Yeah, Phelps pod.
Do you need to know that it stands 30 stories?
All right, I heard some great conversation at this table. Emily, would you share maybe 1 or 2 lines that you eliminated?
Right, so we said that we would probably eliminate the first 2 lines, that one sentence, because the majority of the rest of them are describing Saturn V. Even though we kind of considered valves and pieces and pipes and engines, that still tells me there's a lot going on in those 30 stories. So we think we should get rid of the first 2.
It's still true, still relevant details, but we don't need it to develop the idea that Saturn V is massive and can fly. It's developed elsewhere, right? Okay, so now I want you to find one last thing for me. If you will locate the word massive in the last line, double underline all words or phrases that help the reader understand what massive most likely means in this passage. Any words or phrases that help the reader understand what massive most likely means in this passage, double underline them.
Double.
Too big.
You need any other ones? I did. Monster in the machine. Stands 30 stories. What, yeah, 6 million pounds. Tower. Too big to believe.
Yep.
All right. You have just participated in some significant sentence work that's appropriate for 3rd through 5th grade, and I would argue beyond with more complex text, right? In a classroom, I would spend time giving corrective feedback and going over answers of each one as we go. I would use it as an explicit teaching opportunity. In here, I wanted you to just get a quick feel for what that might feel like so that you can connect it to this next part. So the next part is in Canva, I have designed FAST style questions that look and feel exactly like the FAST assessment. Okay? They're aligned to the significant sentence work that we've done in the fact that they're aligned to the benchmarks that will be assessed, and I've aligned my significant sentence work to those benchmarks. So this is an example. With your teachers, we'll present it in Canva, and there are all kinds of fun ways that you can present, and confetti pops on the screen, and you can have a drum roll and a mic drop, and all kinds of exciting things. For you guys, we just want you to see what it looks like. So this is what it looks like in Canva. This part right here, does that look like the FAST test? Looks just like the sample items, right? Then we have, read these lines from the passage. Why does the author describe Saturn V this way? That's not from the sample test. I just put those in as a text box and made it look exactly like the FAST test. I chose this excerpt that is your significant sentence. We placed it here for them to read. Your students are going to be tested on text from the book list. 30% of the items written each year are from the book list, but they're never going to have to read the entire book Moonshot on the FAST test. What are they going to see? An excerpt. What is an excerpt? Significant sentences, right? So why do you think the author described Saturn this way? To show what helped Saturn V fly, right? The tower of fuel and fire, did that help it fly? The valves, pipes, and engines, does that help it fly? Yeah, and the last line, line 10, it's too big to believe but built to fly. That's why that section is included. This is the kind of practice that's going to help your students be prepared for FAST. Let's try another one. Why does the author use the phrase monster of a machine in this line? Talk at your table. Is it to describe how large the rocket was? To show how angry the astronauts were? To explain the design of the rocket ship? Or to show how scary space travel can be? It describes how large it is. Did any of your work on significant sentence on paper help you with that? Which step helped with that? Massive. We did a lot of underlining of quantity and size, and we thought about the word massive. Anything else? The box, we put a box around monster of a machine, and in our classroom, maybe we would have stopped and talked about that metaphor a little bit more, right? What is the overall text structure in the passage? Are you prepared for that? Can you justify it? Yeah, because I made you go back and put a star next to those lines. What type of figurative language is used? A tower of fuel and fire. Remember when we did that in our significant sentence? We want to help teachers see the connection between significant sentence work and the FAST assessment and the ways that students will be asked to answer questions. Select two phrases from the passage that support the author's claim that Saturn V is very large. Did we do that? We looked at those words. That's what it's going to look like for students. If they can't answer it in this format, it doesn't matter if they know it. It's not going to show. You're not going to have green lines. Your students are not going to be proficient if they don't know how to answer it in the format. So this is our practice with it. For our K2 teachers, we also have some star-style practice that looks exactly like what they will see. So in the K2 sessions, we're going to talk about things like, this is not the question that you see, but they'll see the significant sentence. This is their significant sentence. And it will ask things like, which word is the shortest word? Which word is the longest word? How many words are in this sentence? Which picture has off like sloth? A moth, a top, right? Which one of these pictures matches the sentence? Those are all things that your students are going to be asked in K through 2, and they need to know how to answer it in this format.